So please avoid insurance agents disguising themselves as financial advisors. Hi everyone, it's Charm again from Ready2Adult Philippines, a channel about personal finance, entrepreneurship, and adulting how-tos. Last week, we talked about the basics of life insurance, so if you haven't seen that, make sure you watch that first. I will link it up in the cards. For this video, I will be sharing to you the thought process behind choosing an insurance company, looking for and choosing a financial advisor, what to do before, during, and after meeting with a financial advisor. As originally promised, I was supposed to be sharing to you my insurance policies as well, but I reviewed the outline of this video and it's gonna be too long again, so hopefully I will be making that video for next week. Alright, so if you are interested in how to go about choosing your policy and your coverage and all of that, then please keep on watching. Just a quick disclaimer before we start, I am not a financial advisor and I am not associated or linked to any insurance company. So yeah, let's start. Okay, so the first one is, how do you choose an insurance company? Okay, so go for a company with a good history and reputation. You know, check how long they've been in business, check their financial strength, and you can review this in their annual reports of insurance companies. I will be linking it down below if you guys want to check that out. And also, you can see their assets and their liabilities. You can also go for a company that's part of the top 10 best performing ones, just to, you know, give you an ease of mind that they can deliver what they promised. So here are some of the companies in the Philippines. Generally, I would say that majority of the companies really have the same products, the same core products. It just differs on how they market them, they advertise them, and also their customer service. Which brings us to our next point, choosing your financial advisor. So if you don't know anyone, as mentioned in the previous video, you can actually reach out to reliable financial advisors on social media, but it's also advisable for you to ask people that you know who their advisors are and if they recommend them. And majority of the times, I found my financial advisors through friends. So that's definitely one of the avenues that I would suggest for you. Also because you can trust your friend's opinion about these financial advisors, right? So what do you look for in a financial advisor? First, they need to be somebody that you are comfortable with. You are going to be disclosing things to your financial advisor that you don't normally feel comfortable disclosing to anyone else. So it's important that you are comfortable with them and that you trust them, because having a financial advisor, the relationship you have with them is like a marriage. Life insurance typically lasts you your entire lifetime, and typically they deal with hard events that happen in our lives and our families' lives. So it is very ideal that you are dealing with someone that you're comfortable with. Next is that they need to be thorough and knowledgeable, especially when it comes to their products. They also need to be knowledgeable about personal finance in general, because when they are advising you on which life insurance you should get, they are not just analyzing that part of your life, meaning they also need to analyze that if it is good alongside your current investments, your current goals, and etc. We'll be talking about more of that later, but yeah, basically when you get to talk to a financial advisor, you will know instantly if they know what they're talking about, especially when you yourself knows a thing or two about personal finance and life insurance. Number 3 is that they need to have good customer service. As I mentioned earlier, that's part of what the insurance company has to offer to you, their service, especially for financial advisors. They are in a service-based industry. Basically, basic good customer service means, you know, they respond to you in an ample amount of time. They help you out with the paperwork. So basic stuff like that. I'm not necessarily saying that, they have to give gifts to you all the time and stuff like that. But yeah, good customer service for me is really important when it comes to dealing with financial advisors, because that's actually part of what you are paying for when you get a life insurance. Okay, so once you have found your financial advisor, you're about to set up a meeting with them, what should you do before you meet your financial advisor? Okay, so you need to have an idea of how much coverage you need. And for this, you can take into account several parts. First is the rule of thumb that it has to be between 5 to 10 times your salary. So for example, your annual salary or your annual income is at 600,000. 5 to 10 times that is 3 to 6 million pesos coverage, okay? So you don't have to get one life insurance to cover that amount. You can slowly build up to achieve that goal, okay? So this might be too much or too little. It still really depends on you and the next points that I'm going to be talking about, but at least you have an idea of how much you might need. So next is how much you can afford. So what I would recommend is that your insurance's annual premium shouldn't be more than 10% of your annual income. But again, that's just a rule of thumb. It depends on your situation. Maybe you're in a hurry to pay off your insurance, then that can be fine as well. Next thing that you have to consider to know the coverage that you need is your family's medical history. Especially when they have hereditary medical illnesses like diabetes or cancer or heart attack, then it might be good for you to get the critical illness rider as well. And then next is you have to assess your lifestyle. When you have a more unhealthy lifestyle and habits, then you are going to be more prone to illnesses. This can also cause your insurance policy to be more expensive, like if you smoke, if you drink excessively, or if you have a sedentary lifestyle. And also if you have dangerous or extreme hobbies, then you are also more prone to accidents as well. On the other hand, if you have a healthy lifestyle and you exercise, then your policy can be cheaper because you are less likely to get sick. But despite having a pretty healthy lifestyle, that doesn't mean that you don't need a life insurance. Like I mentioned in my last video, and that's our last point for getting to know how much coverage you need, is you need to get to know your goals. That means you might want a family, so those can be your future dependents. You might want a car, you might take out a loan for your car, you might take out a loan for your house. So you will also need a possible income replacement for those, just in case anything happens, okay? So not everything is based on our health anyways. Accidents can happen, and this is just another form of security. Okay, now that you have an idea of how much coverage you might need and you've already listed these things down before meeting with a financial advisor, next is what should you do during the meeting with your financial advisor. So during the meeting, keep your notes with you, the things that you have already thought about before going into the meeting, because the first thing that you might need to do with your potential financial advisor is to be transparent with them. You need to at least let them know what other policies you have and what are their coverages, and as well as your investments, how much you can afford to pay every month or every year, your family's medical history, your medical history, and things like that. That can really help the financial advisor to get a better grasp on your lifestyle and your needs, and they can advise you better on which policy you should get. The next thing that you should do in this meeting is don't be afraid to ask questions. I get that we might be shy or we might not want to make it seem like we don't know what they're talking about, but it is completely okay to ask. We don't really study these things in school, so it's completely fine to not know what they're talking about. So despite watching my previous video, if there are still some things that you want to ask your financial advisor, then don't hesitate to do so, because you will also know there if the financial advisor is indeed knowledgeable about the products, right? And knowledgeable about personal finance. So me, when I was meeting a lot of financial advisors, some I got insurances from and some I didn't, if I didn't really like how the advisor is, answering my questions, or I feel like they're not very confident about what they're talking about, then even if I like the policy, I will try to look for someone else who can represent me, because like I said earlier, it's a forever thing, right? The relationship is gonna last for a long time, right? So yeah, basically that's what you have to do. You have to be transparent, and you have to ask questions for you to be able to understand what you're getting yourself into. Okay, so what should you do after your meeting with your financial advisor? First is, I really do encourage you guys to not be pressured to sign immediately when you meet. That is part of their service, to assess your needs, to suggest the products that they want to offer you and what's best for you. Don't hesitate to tell the financial advisor that you want to think about it and you are not ready to sign. Now, I know that a lot of insurance agents pressure you to get the insurance policy right on the spot. And yes, I call them insurance agents because I don't consider them as financial advisors if they're just really after a quota and they are not looking after your best interest. So please avoid insurance agents disguising themselves as financial advisors. So I believe that there are a lot of really good financial advisors out there. So just take your time and looking for the right one. Okay, so it shouldn't be that hard, especially if you have friends that you can ask. So don't also make that a reason that you won't get your insurance policy just yet. So with that said, I recommend for you to look at one or two other companies that you can compare the policies from. So get a policy quoted that's fairly similar to the one that you already have in quote, and compare the 2 or 3 policies, because there are some insurance companies that are quite more expensive than the other ones, but that can also mean because they have more riders, they have more benefits, right? So compare the insurance companies' different policies that they want to present to you. Okay, lastly, I want you to avoid aggressive VULs. So I've made this mistake and I'll talk about it in my next video. But basically, I got an aggressive VUL, and I realized that if you are an aggressive investor, that kind of means that you know how to invest, you kind of know how it works, then I would actually encourage you to go ahead and invest that directly into a mutual fund or a UITF. So if you want to get a VUL or a life insurance, then I would recommend for you to get a more or less moderate type of investment linked to your VUL, because the VUL's charges when it comes to the investments are actually a little bit higher than if you directly invested in a mutual fund or a UITF company. So do that instead. So those are just some tips for you to better assess what you are being offered from your financial advisors. So ultimately, getting a life insurance is really a personal choice, and it depends on your financial goals and needs. So make sure to assess them properly, and don't forget to compare prices and compare policies. So that's it for this week's video. I hope you liked it, and I hope that it helps you better formulate your thoughts when it comes to getting your own life insurance. And again, I'm pushing it to next week. I'm gonna be talking about my insurances. I think I have 6 or 7. So yeah, that's it for this week's video. If you found it helpful, then please like this video. It really helps out a lot. Share this video to your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Okay, I know that adulting is already hard, but personal finance doesn't have to be. Again, this has been Charm from Ready2Adult Philippines, and I will see you on the next video.